The night was bright with flashing lights and restless voices. Hundreds of people filled the open square, holding phones high, calling out, cheering. Some were excited, some were just curious, and others simply wanted a picture. In the middle of it all stood Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock, both smiling politely, answering questions, waving at fans. It was supposed to be a light-hearted event, a charity fundraiser, where famous faces helped raise money for children in need, but even as they smiled, both of them felt the weight in the air. Behind the loud laughter and camera flashes, there was something unsettled. Keanu's single-quotes eyes scanned the crowd. He saw families holding hands, teenagers shouting his name, and older fans smiling warmly. But then he noticed something at the edge of the crowd, small figure sitting on the cold pavement, knees pulled close to her chest. She looked no older than 14. Her clothes were too thin for the chilly night, and her eyes weren't looking at the stage or the celebrities. They were fixed on the ground, as if she was trying to disappear. At the same moment, Sandra noticed her too. She felt a quiet pull in her heart, the same one she had felt years ago, when she saw someone struggling and no one else cared. She turned to Keanu, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you see her?" Keanu nodded once, his expression tightening. Yes. Without another word, they stepped back from the center of attention. The cameras kept flashing, but the crowd was too focused on the stage to notice the two of them moving toward the far corner. A few people tried to follow, but their bodyguards subtly blocked the path. Assuming it was just a quick break, as they got closer, the girl didn't look up. She didn't even flinch when Sandra gently crouched in front of her. "Hi," Sandra said softly, her tone warm but careful. "Are you okay?" The girl shook her head quickly, as if the question was too much to answer. Keanu crouched down beside Sandra, his voice steady and calm. "My name is Keanu, and this is Sandra. We're here for an event tonight, but it seems like you're having a rough time. Can we help?" For the first time, the girl looked up. Her eyes were tired and wary, but there was also something fragile in them, like hope, that had almost faded away. "My name is Lily," she said in a quiet voice. I don't have anywhere to go tonight." Sandra's heart tightened. No family nearby. Lily shook her head again. "My mom, she's in the hospital. She's sick. I was staying with a neighbor, but they told me they can't keep me anymore." Keanu glanced at Sandra, reading the same thought in her eyes. This wasn't something they could just walk away from. A cold wind swept through the square, and Lily shivered. Sandra took off her scarf and gently wrapped it around the girl's shoulders. "Thank you," Lily whispered. Keanu stood up slowly and looked around. The event was still going on, music playing, people laughing, cameras rolling, but he knew that staying here while Lily sat on the cold ground wasn't an option. He bent down again. "Lily, would you like to come somewhere warm? We can get you something to eat, and we'll figure out what to do next." Lily hesitated. "You don't even know me." Keanu smiled faintly. "Sometimes you don't need to know everything about someone to help them. Sometimes you just need to care." The words seemed to touch her in a way she didn't expect. After a moment, she nodded. Sandra helped her stand, keeping an arm around her shoulders. Together, they began walking toward the back exit of the event, but as they moved away, Sandra noticed something strange. A man, in a dark jacket, standing at the far corner, watching them closely. His face was shadowed, and he didn't move when they passed. She felt a small chill run down her spine. They didn't know it yet, but this quiet act of kindness was about to pull them into something far more complicated than they imagined, and the man in the dark jacket wasn't going to disappear. The cold night air wrapped around them as they stepped out of the square. The noise from the event faded behind them, replaced by the hum of the city-distant cars, the soft buzz of streetlights, the occasional bark of a dog somewhere far away. Keanu kept glancing over his shoulder, making sure no one was following. But each time he looked, he caught the same figure, a man in a dark jacket, walking slowly, but always staying just far enough back. Sandra noticed it too. He's been there since we left the square, she whispered. I know, Keanu replied, quietly. Let's keep moving. Lily stayed close between them, clutching Sandra's scarf like it was a shield. Her steps were small, careful, almost like she was trying not to make a sound. Lily, Sandra said gently, do you know that man? The girl's face tightened, and she looked down at the ground. I've seen him before. Voice was calm but serious. Where? Near the hospital, she whispered. He was outside the day my mom got really sick. He just watched me. I thought it was a coincidence, but now. She didn't finish the sentence. Keanu felt a knot form in his chest. Something about this didn't feel like random bad luck. They reached a small diner on the corner, its windows glowing with warm light. Inside, a few late-night customers sat drinking coffee or eating pie. The smell of fresh bread and hot soup drifted out when Keanu opened the door. Come on, he said. Let's get inside. The moment they stepped in, the warmth hit them, and Lily's shoulders relaxed slightly. They found a booth in the back, far from the windows. Keanu sat facing the door. A waitress came over, smiling politely. What can I get you? 3 hot chocolates, Sandra said before Lily could even look at the menu, and maybe some soup for her. Make it 2 soups, Keanu added. Extra bread. As the waitress left, Sandra leaned forward. Lily, if someone is following you, we need to know why. Is there anything at all you're not telling us? Lily's hands gripped the edge of the table. Her voice was small, but steady. My mom? She used to work for someone. She never told me much, but she always said if anything happened to her, I should never go with strangers. A week before she got sick, she told me there was something important I might have to keep safe. Sandra's brows furrowed. Keep safe? Like what? Lily shook her head. I don't know. She just said it was in her bag, but I haven't seen her bag since the ambulance came. Keanu leaned back, thinking, so this man could be looking for that. Whatever it is. Lily nodded slowly. I think so. The waitress returned with steaming mugs of hot chocolate and bowls of soup. Lily's hands wrapped around the cup, soaking in the warmth, but Keanu's eyes stayed fixed on the door, because the man in the dark jacket had just walked in. His gaze swept the diner until it landed on their table. He didn't smile, didn't nod, just started walking toward them. Keanu stood up slowly, placing himself between the man and Lily. Can I help you? Keanu asked, his voice calm but firm. The man stopped a few feet away. His eyes flicked toward Lily, then back to Keanu. She needs to come with me, he said in a low voice. That's not happening. Keanu replied. The man's jaw tightened. You don't understand. It's not safe for her to be with you. Sandra's voice was sharp, and we're supposed to believe she's safer with you. For a moment, the man's expression shifted, something like frustration, but also urgency. If you knew what was coming, you wouldn't waste time arguing. Keanu's mind raced. This wasn't just about a lost girl. This was something bigger, but before he could respond, the man turned and walked out into the night. Threats, no explanations, and that somehow felt even more dangerous. The diner felt colder after the man left, even though the heaters were still humming. Lily kept her eyes on her soup, stirring slowly, but she hadn't taken a single bite since he walked in. Sandra sat beside her, one hand gently resting on the girl's shoulder. Keanu stayed quiet for a moment, his thoughts turning over like gears. Lily, he said softly, where are your mom's things now? She hesitated. When she was taken to the hospital, the ambulance driver put her bag in the storage room there. They told me I couldn't take it until she was awake again, but she's been unconscious for days. Sandra's heart ached at the thought. Then we need to get that bag, she said firmly. Tonight. Lily's eyes widened. But the hospital is closed to visitors this late. Keanu gave a faint smile. Closed to most visitors, but we'll figure something out. They finished the meal in silence. When they left the diner, Keanu's gaze swept the street. No sign of the man in the dark jacket. But he knew that didn't mean they were safe. The hospital stood several blocks away, a tall building with its windows glowing faintly against the night sky. They reached it just after midnight. The lobby nearly empty, except for a tired-looking security guard behind a desk. Keanu walked up calmly. "Hi, we're here to pick up some belongings for a patient named Margaret Lane." The guard frowned. "Visiting hours are over. You'll need to come back in the morning." Sandra leaned in slightly, her voice warm but persuasive. "Please. It's just her bag. Her daughter really needs it tonight. It's important." The guard hesitated, then sighed. "Wait here." As he disappeared down a hallway, Lily gripped Sandra's hand. "What if it's gone?" she whispered. "Then we deal with it," Sandra said softly. Together, a few minutes later, the guard returned with a worn brown leather bag. It looked heavy, the straps frayed from years of use. "Sign here," the guard said, pushing a clipboard forward. Keanu signed quickly, thanked him, and they left without another word. They didn't open the bag until they were back in Keanu's small apartment. Quiet, safe place far from the crowd. The lights were soft, the air warm. Lily sat on the couch. As Sandra placed the bag on the coffee table, Keanu unzipped it slowly. Inside were ordinary things at first: an old sweater, a small makeup pouch, a folded blanket. But at the bottom, hidden under the lining, was a thin envelope sealed with tape. Lily leaned forward. "That wasn't there before." Keanu carefully tore the tape and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The handwriting was rushed, uneven. "If you're reading this, it means something has gone wrong. There are people who will come looking for me and for Lily. They believe I have something they want. It's not an object, it's information. Hidden in my phone is the only proof of what they've done. Keep Lily safe. Trust no one except the man named Daniel Stone. He will find you." Sandra's single quotes eyes met Keanu's. Daniel Stone. Could that be the man from the diner? Keanu thought about the way the man's voice carried urgency, not threat. Maybe. Or maybe that's what he wants us to think. Lily's voice trembled. "So, people are after me because of what my mom knows." Keanu nodded slowly. "Yes. And now we have to figure out what's on her phone." But when he reached back into the bag, there was no phone. Someone had already taken it. Keanu sat back, the empty space in the bag feeling heavier than anything inside it. Sandra's eyes stayed fixed on him, reading the same thought he had if the phone was gone. Then someone already knew about its importance. "Lily," Keanu said gently, "when was the last time you saw your mom's phone?" She thought for a moment. "At the hospital. It was in her bag when she was brought in. I'm sure of it. But the next day, when I asked a nurse if I could call her friends, they said it wasn't there anymore." Sandra frowned. "Which means it was taken while she was in the hospital." Keanu stood up, pacing the room. If the man in the dark jacket is Daniel Stone, maybe he was trying to warn us. But if he's not, then he could already have the phone. Lily's voice was small. "What if he's working for the people my mom warned about?" The thought made the room feel colder. Keanu took out his own phone and searched Daniel Stone. Dozens of results came up. But one stood out: an investigative journalist who had disappeared from public work 2 years ago after exposing a corporate scandal. "This might be him," Keanu said, turning the screen toward Sandra. "If your mom trusted him, he could be the only one who can help us." But before they could decide their next step, there was a soft knock at the apartment door. Keanu froze. Sandra instinctively pulled Lily close. The knock came again. Louder. This time Keanu moved quietly to the door and looked through the peephole. Standing in the hallway was the man in the dark jacket. Keanu opened the door halfway, his stance guarded. "Why are you here?" The man's eyes scanned the room behind Keanu. "My name is Daniel Stone. I'm here because your friend in the hospital doesn't have much time, and neither do you. The people after her know she hid the phone, and they're closer than you think." Sandra stepped forward. "If that's true, then where is it?" Daniel hesitated, then pulled something from inside his jacket, a black smartphone with a cracked screen. "This is your mother's," he said, handing it to Lily. "I took it to keep it from being stolen, but now you need to see what's on it." Lily clutched the phone, but didn't turn it on. "How do we know you're not lying?" Daniel's gaze was steady. "Because the moment you see the video inside, you'll understand why your mother risked everything." Keanu stepped aside, letting him in. Daniel sat at the table and nodded at the phone. "Go ahead." Lily unlocked it with a shaky hand. Inside, there was only one saved video file marked with the date from 2 weeks ago. She pressed play. The screen showed her mother, looking pale and tired, speaking quickly into the camera. Behind her was what looked like a storage room, filled with medical supplies. "If anything happens to me, this message must be seen by someone who can act. The hospital where I work has been covering up dangerous practices, expired medicines, fake treatments. Patients are dying, and they're hiding it. I kept records. They're in the encrypted files on this phone. Do not trust anyone connected to the hospital board. They will do anything to silence me." The video ended. The room was silent. Daniel looked at them. "Now you see why they're after her and Lily. You need to get out of the city before they find you." But before Keanu could respond, the apartment lights flickered in. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. They were no longer alone. The hallway outside was no longer quiet. Footsteps came fast, heavy, and there were more than 2 sets. Keanu's instincts kicked in. He turned to Sandra. "Get Lily and the phone now." Daniel moved to the window, scanning the street below. "Too many down there. We'll have to go out the back." Keanu grabbed his jacket, pulled the hood over Lily's head, and led them toward the kitchen door that opened into the narrow service hallway. The footsteps outside the main door stopped, then the sharp crack of it being kicked in shattered the silence. "Go," Keanu hissed. They slipped into the service hallway, closing the door just as voices barked orders in the living room. The hall was dim, smelling of old paint and dust, but it led to a rusted metal staircase. As they hurried down, Sandra whispered, "Who are they?" Daniel didn't slow. "The hospital board has money and power. They have people willing to do their dirty work. Those people are here tonight." On the second floor, a door opened suddenly and a man stepped out, blocking the way. He was big, wearing black gloves, and his eyes locked straight on Lily, without thinking. Keanu shoved the man back into the room, slamming the door and jamming a chair against the handle. "Keep moving." They burst out into the alley, the night air cold against their skin. A van sat at the far end of the alley, its engine running. Daniel froze. "That's not mine." The van's side door slid open and the same guard from the hospital lobby stepped out, holding a gun low but ready. His voice was calm, almost polite. "Give me the phone, and no one gets hurt." Lily gripped the device tighter, her knuckles white. Keanu stepped in front of her. "You're not getting it?" The guard's eyes flicked to Daniel. "You should have handed it over when you had the chance. Now they'll take it from her one way or another." Keanu's chest tightened. "You work for them." The guard didn't deny it. From the far end of the alley, more figures appeared. 3, maybe 4. Moving fast. Daniel's single quotes, his voice dropped to a sharp whisper. "We're boxed in." But Sandra's eyes darted upward, spotting a narrow fire escape. Above them, there. They climbed quickly, Lily clutching the phone under her coat. The metal rungs rattled as they pulled themselves up, boots scraping against steel. Voices shouted below, the sound of the guard barking orders carrying through the alley. By the time they reached the rooftop, their breaths came in fast clouds of steam. The city spread out before them, endless lights under the dark sky. Daniel pointed toward a cluster of older buildings. We can lose them in that area, but we have to move now. They jumped from one rooftop to another, each landing shaking through their bones. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew louder, boots on metal, shouts in the wind. Finally, they dropped down into a courtyard hidden between buildings. For a moment, it was silent, except for their breathing. Keanu turned to Daniel. "You still think we can trust you?" Daniel met his eyes. "You don't have to trust me. Just trust that I want the same thing you do to keep her alive." "But," Lily's voice broke the moment, "they're not going to stop, are they?" Keanu crouched in front of her, steadying his voice. "No, but neither are we." None of them noticed the small red light blinking on the edge of the rooftop above, them a tracking device, already locked onto their position. The blinking red light above them went unnoticed until a distant hum began to grow in the cold night air. Daniel's head snapped up. "They found us. We have less than 5 minutes before they're here." Keanu took a quick breath, scanning the courtyard. There was only one way out, a narrow service tunnel leading under the buildings. It was dark, probably damp, but it might be their only chance. "Through there," Keanu said. Daniel nodded, taking the lead. Sandra held Lily's hand, guiding her into the darkness, while Keanu stayed at the back, listening for the sound of boots behind them. The tunnel was long, the walls damp with condensation. Their footsteps echoed softly, every sound amplified in the narrow space. "Where does this lead?" Lily whispered. "An old delivery entrance," Daniel said. "If it's not locked, we can get to the street." But when they reached the end, the heavy metal door was chained shut. Keanu cursed under his breath. Daniel pulled a small tool from his pocket and began working on the lock. "Keep watch." The hum in the air was louder, no vehicles moving fast. Finally, the chain fell loose, and they pushed through into the open street. A cold wind hit them, carrying the distant roar of engines. Daniel pointed toward an empty warehouse across the road. "We can take cover there. It's the only place with enough space to hide and plan our next move." They slipped inside, the large space dimly lit by broken windows. The smell of dust and oil filled the air. Keanu closed the door quietly, but before he could lock it, the sound of tires screeching outside cut through the night. They were here. The first door burst open, and black-clad figures poured in. Daniel shoved a heavy crate toward them, knocking two to the ground. Keanu grabbed a metal pole from the floor and swung it hard, blocking another from getting closer. "Run!" Keanu shouted. Sandra and Lily darted toward the far side of the warehouse. But one of the men broke through and grabbed Lily's arm. "No!" Sandra cried. Before anyone could move, Daniel was there, slamming the man back and pulling Lily free. Keanu's single quotes voice was steady despite the chaos. "Get to the corner now." They huddled behind a stack of crates, Daniel pulling out the phone. "This is it. This is the proof. If we send this to the right people now, the whole truth goes public. But once we do, they'll never stop coming for us." Keanu's jaw tightened. "And if we don't," Daniel looked at Lily, "then your mom's fight ends here, and these people keep hurting others." Lily's hands trembled as she took the phone. For a long moment, she stared at it, her face pale, but her eyes steady. "My mom didn't risk her life so we could hide. She wanted the truth out." Keanu nodded. "Then we do it together." Daniel quickly connected the phone to his secure transmitter. A progress bar appeared on the screen. 20%, 40%, 60%. The attackers regrouped, closing in. "Keep them back," Keanu shouted, swinging the pole again. Sandra grabbed a loose pipe and joined him, the sound of metal clashing echoing in the warehouse. 90%, 95%. A final attacker lunged toward Daniel. Just as the upload hit 100%, Daniel hit send. "It's done." The man froze, as a distant siren began to wail police sirens. The sound grew louder, flashing blue lights reflecting through the broken windows. The attackers scattered, disappearing into the night before the police arrived. In the aftermath, the warehouse was quiet, except for the sound of heavy breathing. Lily clutched the phone to her chest. "Is it really out there now?" Daniel nodded. "Every major news outlet has it. Your mom's truth is safe now." Sandra put an arm around Lily. "And so are you." Keanu looked toward the rising light of dawn through the warehouse windows. "We may have walked away from the crowd tonight," he said softly, "but maybe this is where we were meant to be." Lily smiled faintly, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Thank you." The sirens faded into the distance, and for the first time in days, they all felt the weight lift, knowing the truth was finally free. The sun was breaking over the city, soft orange light spilling through the high windows of the warehouse. The chaos of the night still lingered in their bodies' aching muscles, tired eyes, but there was a new feeling too, a sense of relief. Lily sat on a crate, sipping warm tea from a thermos Sandra had found in a dusty cupboard. Her small hands wrapped around it like it was the only thing anchoring her to the moment. She hadn't spoken much since the upload. Keanu crouched in front of her. "Are you okay?" She nodded slowly. "I just can't believe it's over. My mom's safe now, right?" Daniel's expression softened. "She's still in the hospital, but she's safer than she's been in weeks. With the truth out, they can't touch her without the whole world watching." Sandra reached over and tucked a loose strand of hair behind Lily's ear. "And you're safe too. You've been incredibly brave." Lily's eyes filled with quiet pride, but also a hint of sadness. "I'm glad we did it, but I wish my mom could see it." Keanu glanced at Daniel, then pulled out his own phone. "Maybe she can." Within an hour, they were at the hospital. The place felt different now, less tense, more open. News reports were already playing on the lobby televisions, headlines flashing about the hospital scandal, the arrests, and the investigation. The nurse at the desk smiled warmly at Lily. "You can go in. She's awake." Lily's breath caught. They walked down the hallway together, the smell of antiseptic and the soft beep of heart monitors surrounding them. When they reached the room, Lily stopped in the doorway. Her mother, pale but conscious, was sitting up in bed. The moment she saw Lily, her eyes filled with tears. "Mom." Lily ran to her, wrapping her arms around her tightly. Margaret's voice trembled. "I knew you'd be okay. I knew you'd find someone to help you." Keanu and Sandra stepped in quietly, standing by the door. Daniel stayed just outside, giving them space. Lily pulled back slightly, holding up the phone. "We sent it, Mom. Everyone knows the truth now." Margaret's smile was weak but full of gratitude. "You're just like your father. You didn't give up." For the next hour, they stayed in that small room laughing softly, talking quietly, letting the relief settle in. When they finally stepped outside, the sunlight was brighter, warmer. The city noise felt lighter too, as if the air itself had changed. Daniel turned to Keanu and Sandra. "You could have walked away that first night. Most people would have." Keanu looked at him steadily. "Some things are worth stepping away from the crowd for." Sandra smiled faintly, "Especially when someone needs you." Lily hugged them both tightly. "Thank you for everything." As they walked away from the hospital, the three of them knew the night's events had changed them, not just because they had stopped something dangerous, but because they had proved that, even in the middle of chaos, kindness and courage could still win. Keanu glanced at Sandra, his voice soft but certain. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Sandra nodded. Together. And somewhere deep in the city, as life carried on, a story had been written, not just of danger and escape, but of trust, compassion, and the quiet power of walking away from the crowd to help in silence.